I'm a 17-year-old, I am a kid. And it really bothers me that we all know that I'm a kid. We know that I don't have the capacity to do anything. And yet, if I make a mistake, I'm now an adult for purposes of locking me up.
That's when I was born that early. I got a lot of strong memories that will always be with me. It was just like the starting ground for me. It's really my story of how all it started. You know what I mean? But just being down here, and even though they got the bad part of it, it's still home. Fifth grade, after my godfather died, I was going through a bit of a grief process at a young age, and I just didn't know how to cope with it. I always thought it was my fault, even though I wasn't there at the time when it happened. And just having that thought every day, I'm not gonna see my best friend again, and how hard that is. So I'm dealing with battles with myself, really, just how to improve on myself and not be a disappointment to myself. I just gotta be ready for anything that comes, really.
He's a critical, deep thinker. Dante is one of the most caring people you'll meet. He genuinely cares for other people.
He had been removed from his home for about 3 weeks. He was definitely angry at everybody and everything.
But the odds were really bad. He came from a really, really hard set of circumstances. All kinds of different people had failed to engage him.
I didn't see myself really working with a bunch of lawyers, but I did see myself just helping those that needed help. I need to do it. I feel like I'm just obligated.
He takes the pressures and he takes the stresses of other people, and that really deeply affects him. I think it's because he's been through so much, and he's seen a life of a lot of poverty, a lot of pain, and so I think he just doesn't want that to be the case for other people.
I knew he was capable of this, and yeah, just his talent, his light, his energy, his kindness, and his ability. He's just sharp, and he's able to, I've just seen him in a bunch of different contexts, and he's able to be quiet and loud and entertaining and soft and listening, and so I knew his capacity.
It's exciting to think if things go right for him, how right they can go. It could be amazing.
Over here, that's the business school. That's where I was before I changed my major. I was a marketing major, then I switched to sociology. So I've organized around, I think, 3 protests. One protest my sophomore year when I was president of the Commuter Student Association. We organized a protest after Ferguson, and we just wanted to do something. So we did a speak out, and we had people from all across the campus just come out. I thought that was great. That was probably my favorite protest we did.
I met Sean Kelly at his freshman orientation, so immediately when I met him, I knew there was something special about him. School begins, he's right in my office. He's saying, I want to get involved, what can I do? And so from the bat, he began to show lots of leadership skills and get involved. I really appreciate Sean's passion and his drive and his ability to motivate others to make changes on campus and in the community.
You give him what to do, he gonna knock it out. It's just a natural talent. He loves the attention, and he loves being able to thrive in those moments. And he does well in those moments.
I think that he will be at the forefront of various different movements. He will always, fight for what he believes in, and he will be one to say something about it.
I want people to hear my voice. I want people to know that Sean Kelly is trying to change the world in a positive manner.
I think that in high school, Sean didn't have a lot of opportunities. Like, Sean wasn't a popular kid. He had a lot to offer. He had a lot to say. He just didn't know how to express those things. And so when he got to Loyola, which is a small school, and an opportunity for people to really shine and thrive, he took advantage of them. That experience at Loyola helped to shape his experience here at LCCR.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
If we were going to get our interns, get Sean and Dante involved, and empower them to be involved, it couldn't be on a superficial level. We really had to give them the opportunity to have input, make change, and to thrive. We thought that they had really good potential in a combination of them two. Sean is the person that's gonna host the events. Sean is the person that's gonna introduce the governor. Dante is thinking deeply about the event.
Dante is like a very philosophical thinker. He's impacted by the juvenile justice system.
I know Sean's gonna do bright things for the city. And just to say, like, we never really met each other, but coming together in this type of environment has been phenomenal.
I've seen them both grow in so many ways. It's left a stain and a mark on them where, in their own different and unique direction, they want to figure out how to continue to do this work.
It led us to have more of a activism role, and it also gave us like the adrenaline just want to help people.
We're really excited to work together to give a voice to the young people.
I don't think it's many of people of my race really doing a lot of this, especially at my age, and who had a lot to really like just say I had a hand in creating this.
The Louisiana Center for Children's Rights is a children's rights organization. We advocate for children's rights. We do that by defending their rights in court, by fighting for their rights in their schools and in their community, and by trying to expand their rights at the legislature, both here in the city and in the state.
Essentially, Louisiana is one of a very few handful of states, kind of outliers, that up until recently treated 17-year-old juveniles as if they were adults. Essentially, if a 17-year-old committed a crime, they were automatically tried as an adult.
If your whole point is to remind people like, hey, I understand that we're talking about somebody that made a mistake. And the person's coming forward, they're like, I am 17, like, listen to me, look at me, see who I am, And they're a young adult in some ways, but they really are still a child. And I think a lot of times what comes to mind is like the most horrific story, that people hear about crime and what they see in the newspaper, or they see like a mugshot of a child and they've heard so many terrible things about that child that it's easy for them to kind of write them off.
Honestly, our system of juvenile justice, it really needs a lot of work, and what is happening to individuals who are locked up and what's happening to a lot of our young black men who are facing a lot of these charges and not being charged as youth, but they're being charged as adults, and their childhood is basically being taken away from them.
When they make a mistake, where do you go from that mistake? How do you just get to the point where you the kid is in a better place.
When you had kids showing up to committee saying, I'm a kid, and you had legislators and advocates saying, would you want this to happen to your kids? Humanizing it is what made this possible. And there was a really great bit of testimony during committee where a young woman said, I have a friend who went away for a couple of months because he was tried as an adult. And when he came back, he was different. He wasn't the same kid. He was different. He was broken, and he'll never be the same.
Too often we think about youth and try to solve problems for youth, but we don't have youth directly involved and engaged. We just push youth aside and say, this is for grown-ups. Or too often we say, they don't have the capacity to do this.
As a young college-educated person, I think it's very important for me to be involved in this because, I have a different perspective. I'm bringing, the education that I'm learning, and I'm trying to directly put it into action. And I think that's why it's important for myself to be involved in this movement.
We just want to get youth voices heard. We just want to get them active, give them opportunities within the city so they could be successful and prosperous within the future. So anything that we could do to play a part in, just to make sure that, we making something, even if it's little, if it's change, to come for the betterment of youth in the city and the state, we'll try to do.
I am hopeful that the last couple years there is momentum, that there's common interests across political parties and across viewpoints that are bringing people together around issues on juvenile justice. And so I'm hopeful because we've seen that happen.
So I'm really actually optimistic about the future of the juvenile justice system in Louisiana. With the success that we had last year in a lot of the reforms, I think, people are really realizing this, and people are really recognizing, these are kids, and what kinds of opportunities can we give young people who need that extra care? What kind of opportunities can we provide for them? So I feel like we're moving in a really good direction.
I'm in it just to rewrite history, cause I'm in the mood to label us the leaders of the new school. This ain't for the radio, can't find this on YouTube. This the type of killing that these critics ain't used to.
I think we're changing the narrative just because we're giving a different voice. Just like, what you're talking about, these people who haven't had any experience, these people who have no connection to young people, unless when it was young 30, 40 years ago, but they don't know what the young people are going through today. They don't know our issues. So when we're trying to change the narrative and, make youth voices powerful, you have to have young people involved. And I think we're the key to changing the narrative, to changing the entire system, because our voices matter, and that's what we're trying to promote.
I think it's important for me that I'm involved with the work now, just because it's something that's like a first-time thing within this state, within this city, and just have somebody to rely on, just when times are rough, and you're going through this, and that, and it seems like all hope is lost, So I just try to carry that torch, and just be that light for them.
Try to overlook a rival. All eyes on me cause I got no competition. Now looking at an idol. Your dough ain't long enough to pay for my attention. Try to overlook a rival. All eyes on me cause I got no competition. Now looking at an idol. Your dough ain't long enough to pay for my attention. I was born to be glorious. Most definitely glorious. Destined to be glorious. Through all I hate to display, we remain warriors. I was born to be glorious. Most definitely glorious. Destined to be glorious. Through all I hate to display, we remain warriors.
information so accurate, and I'm far from average. Label me dapper as racking up while you rambling. The bros with me, we bucking. When we collab, we just damage it. Spaz on your campuses, wildin' out, be my mans, and them fought for freedom forever. But this time we just demanding it. Sticking to you, I'm branded, and in your skull they can't handle it. They know we the ones, we the heartbeat of the drums. Generated from slums, but young laws of the sun. Pyramids built in Egypt, we got the power within us. Sit back and plot on the millions, I mean enrich my antennas. Breaking through walls, got no limits. I'm Percy Miller in denims. Gumbo cooking in kitchens, don't take a sip, it's addictive. My aura might overpour you. One day we gon' be torn. Any track and it's torture. Sit back and peep out my portraits. It's kinda hard not to notice. Dedicated and focused, never gon' slack on my moment. And every day I be on it for real.
We gon' rise up, yes, we gon' rise up. We gon' rise up, yes, we gon' rise up. They gon' try to stop us, but we gon' rise up. We gon' rise up, yes, we gon' rise up.